Hi, this is Lael Kankar. I had a couple requests to do a walkthrough or flip through of the lists for my Listers Got a List book. And that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So I decided at the beginning that I was going to use one book and get as far in it as I could, and then continue on to subsequent books. So the book that I am using is made by Moleskine. It is, and I think it's pronounced Cahir, C-A-H-I-E-R. Not quite sure how that's pronounced, but that's probably close enough. It is similar in size to a traveler's notebook, although it is a little bit wider. And I liked having that extra additional width to work with. If you'd like to see all of my lists up close, you can see them on my Instagram account at Lael, L-A-Y-L-E, Kankar, K-O-N-C-A-R. And that's on Instagram. That is one word. So there are a number of questions that I get asked about my lists. The first one is usually in the book that you're using, how thick or how thin are the pages? And the pages are a little bit thin. They're a little bit see-through. So what I do to kind of account for that, on a page like this where I've written my list directly on the page, when I go to the next list, I always use a piece of scrapbook paper as a base for that list. So I make the list on the scrapbook paper and then I just adhere that entire list to the page. So then it doesn't matter if the ink kind of bleeds through a little bit because you don't see that on the opposite page. Another question I get asked a lot is what pen do I use? And I use, let's see if we can, there we go. I use this Zig Writer. It is made by a company called Kuretake, K-U-R-E-T-A-K-E. It is a dual tip, meaning that it has pens on both sides. The one side that I use is the 0.5 millimeter side. The other side is 1.22, and that's just too thick. But that is my favorite pen, and that's a pen I've been using for my scrapbooking for years and years and years. As I was putting my lists together for the month of April, I had started numbering the list. So I was numbering each page. And as I started finishing April, I decided I was going to stop numbering each list. Just because I was using the same book for more than 1 month. I thought it might bother me if I did 1 through 31 and then started over again at 1. A couple of years from now, if I'm looking back at my lists, I might be wondering why I was numbering and why I started over it, after number 31 or number 30 or what have you. So in this book, I have all of April and May and 18 days of June, and that is full. This is kind of a fun list in that I have these little kind of tabs that are going into the pocket. And in some cases, I've used chipboard on my pages, and I don't do that very much because it adds a lot of extra bulk, and it makes the book a little bit heavier. You will see lots and lots of gold in my lists. I really like gold right now. You'll also see in a few cases I've used clips, and again I use those pretty sparingly for the same reason with the chipboard, that it makes it a little bit bulky and a little bit heavier. So that wrapped up the month of April. This was the start of month of May. Reasons why I love to list. I have been a lister honestly for as far back as I can remember. I have saved many, many lists over the years. I actually, about 6 years ago, put together a book of lists where I included a bunch of the lists I had saved. I have a list that is 18 years old. It has the names that we were considering when we were pregnant with our first child. I have a list that is 20 years old. That is the list of people that we had invited to our rehearsal dinner. So it's kind of fun to save those lists and look back on them. This is one of my favorite lists, specifically for the reason, this little piece right here. That mom, I actually cut out from an envelope from a Mother's Day card that one of our sons had given me for Mother's Day. And that was kind of fitting because this prompt happened to be for Mother's Day this year. I use a mixture of washi and stickers and scrapbook paper, lots of word strip stickers. This one was kind of different. This prompt was my planner essentials. And on this list, I took a photo of both the planners that I use. One is a business planner or planner I use for work, and the other one is a personal planner. So I printed that out and then used the photo. This is actually printed on a piece of photo paper. Used this top part of the photo to add my listing. And in that case, when you're writing on photo paper, if you want to do that, it doesn't necessarily work if you use a regular marker. So the marker that I like to use for writing on photos is the Zig Photo Signature pen. Again, it's very similar to that other Zig black pen that I've been using, but it does not smear, and it keeps a nice, crisp, clean writing on your photos or your photo paper. This one was a little bit different. This was a bag that I had received. I had placed an order from a seller on Etsy, and the product, when she sent it, came in this cute little bag. So I just decided to attach that bag for my list, and then the list actually slides in and out of that fun little bag. An example of incorporating some non-scrapbooking product, this list was my favorite authors. So for the base of the list, I actually used a page that I tore from a dictionary. I had picked up that dictionary from a thrift store, and so I thought that was kind of fitting since that was my favorite authors. And that wraps up May, which takes us into June. The first prompt for June was things I commit to doing in June. Today is the last day of June. I had 4 things on here as I looked through the list. I'm batting about 50%, so not so good. But hey, at least I got 50%, right? Maybe they'll have to go into my what I commit to doing for July. This one was movies on my watch list. One of the movies that I really would like to see is Entourage. So for this one, I went to Google and searched for an Entourage image, resized it, printed it, and then put it in that little TV screen there. Oops. See, now you can see we're starting to get big, so I'm going to hold down this left side. Another example of where I searched for images on Google and then resized and then printed as photos. This one is favorite time wasters. So I have little thumbnails of HGTV, Netflix, Words with Friends, Instagram, Kindle, and Pinterest. So I just resized those in Photoshop and then printed those little small thumbnails. Here's another envelope that I did. So that tag just sticks out of the envelope. So you can see a couple of the items on the list, and then you pull and see the rest. Alrighty, so this list here on the right, this was the day 18, and that was the last page in my book. So rather than just ending there, I did an additional page, and this page I used a 3x4 card that says to be continued. I stuck a little bit of washi down, and then as I mentioned before, I added that date. So when I look back on this book, I know when I was working on these lists. So I have now moved on into my second book, and I will do another video next month to kind of talk about June. But this is the same book that started this book. So you can see it's kind of interesting to compare. This is it empty, and this is it full. Those are my lists for April, May, and the first 18 days of June. Again, if you'd like to see those lists up close, you can see them on Instagram at Layle, L-A-Y-L-E, Koncar, K-O-N-C-A-R. Thanks for watching.